Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Chops Podcast. My name is Steve Peterson.
And I'm Jack Hinkle.
Hey, Jack. How you doing?
Oh, we're doing great, Steve.
Yeah, good.
You doing okay?
Yeah.
That did not sound like a yes.
Yeah. I feel like my eyes are like really pink. Are they pink?
No more than usual.
Okay. It feels like I have the Star-Spangled eyes. You know, I have like
Oh,
red, white, and blue.
say, can
Yeah,
you see?
Yeah,
Right.
they're just like this. So my eyes are really dry right now just from teaching them through the day.
Well, dude, don't you keep like 12 packs of Vicine
I have
in your
Visine
desk?
everywhere.
You gave me Vicine. Remember that one day, like in band, I was like, I came in, I was twitching, and you're like, Jack, if you need this, it's and you showed me the Vicine bottle, like it's in my desk drawer. And so Steve is like teaching or something, and I'm on prep. So I go into his office.
I run around the corner,
and I'm just like, and he like catches me, and I'm just like, dude, I'm dying. That was an awkward moment for us, but that made my eyes better. I'm sorry to hear about your eyes.
No, but you know, it was a good day teaching, but it's a full day.
Full
Doesn't
day.
it feel like it's a full day every day?
Well, it's also a full week this week. This is like our first 5-day week in like 3 weeks. I know. This week is long. It's only Monday, Jack. Yeah, it's okay.
But the sun's out.
The sun's out and it's 60 degrees, dude. I could
Sun's
run in
out.
shorts today.
And the meadows and the something about my old Kentucky home. So yeah, the
Something.
sun's out. So
So what was the pink eye? Where did that come from? You don't have
'cause-
pink eye, do you?
no, but
Okay,
we have
good.
a friend that has a pink eye today.
Just one?
Well, 2 pink eyes.
2 pink eyes.
So this is a special day for us. What is today's date?
It's February 26th.
Oh my gosh,
Monday.
it is. It's 63 degrees. What are we doing inside?
Making our dreams come true.
Okay, we are making that bank. Okay, so today we have our next guest from the state. Actually, it's not a state. From the Commonwealth.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
That's like a good Kentucky.
Okay, so it just
trivia.
narrowed it down to. I was
It
going to say
could've
narrowed it
been
down to 4.
Massachusetts.
Virginia, right?
Yeah,
Isn't there another one?
No.
Is Pennsylvania Commonwealth?
I don't know.
I don't know. I teach band,
grade
dude.
school teacher.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's shaking her head.
So
no.
we have a guest today from Berea, Kentucky, just south of Lexington, Kentucky. A good friend of mine and a wonderful educator and a fine, upstanding person. Let's please welcome to Chops Podcast, Lauri Eiselt. Woo! Woo! So you can see Lauri. Hi, Lauri.
Hi, guys.
How are we doing today?
Great, and we've got this awesome weather, too, and
You
I'm
do?
stuck inside with you. I mean, I'm stuck inside.
Wow! Oh my gosh!
I thought maybe
wait.
we could do it outside, but probably not.
Ooh,
Next time.
that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so is it really like in the 60s there in Kentucky?
68, I think.
68.
Wow.
Dang.
Yeah,
Oh.
Did you guys get snow this year? Do you see snow?
we did. We had about a week of snow.
A
in
week of snow.
January, yeah, and it got really cold, and of course nothing melted. So we were out of school for 5 or 6 days.
Uh-oh.
Oh my gosh. Well, I just know the story from Steve that when it snowed like 2 or 3 inches, he was in the supermarket and they said schools are closed until further notice.
That's right. Yeah.
Kentucky's a strange place, but you know, snow is
I
snow.
don't want to drive a school bus on some of those roads. I do get it.
I don't want to drive a school bus, period.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Okay,
I feel
so
that.
Lauri Eiselt is talking to us from Berea, Kentucky, right? And Berea is like central or south central Kentucky, kind of at the edge. It's where the bluegrass meets the foothills of Kentucky or the foothills of Appalachia,
That's
Nice.
right? It's an arts and crafts capital of Kentucky,
That's right.
right?
Is that for real?
Yeah.
I'm like, you're in it right now. It looks
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah.
No, it's right. You guys got a lot of like wonderful like artists and
Yep.
musicians and writers and
Yep.
poets and all that kind of stuff going
Yep.
on. It's kind of a happening place.
That's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
And you got Berea College there.
Berea College. Yep. The center of the city, pretty much. Yep.
Well, okay, wait. So I know we're going to talk about real teaching, but weren't you the basketball coach there?
Oh, jeez. Come on, Steve.
You coach basketball?
College basketball. Right?
I did. Yes.
You coached the college basketball team?
I was the women's college basketball coach I was the assistant for 3 years, and then I was the head coach for 3 years.
That is incredible. That could be its whole own episode.
Well,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you ever want to get back into coaching?
Nope.
No. Okay.
I did. I coached my girls when they were little, like soccer and.
Sure.
I guess soccer is really all they did. But yes, that was enough. And then when Katie, my youngest, was about 4th grade, she was like, you know what? You do not need to coach me anymore. So. Which was probably good.
Well, I'm just kind of wondering, like, the parallels of coaching college, right? College basketball
Yes.
and teaching kindergarten. I'm sure there's a lot more in common.
Well, I'm
than
sure
people
there's a
would
book
think.
in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Full court press.
Full court press.
Full court press.
Jump
A
ball.
lot of defense. A lot of defense. Yeah.
A lot of deep.
You're playing a lot of zone, right?
That's true. Yes. It's
The best defense is
Cover.
hiding under your desk. I mean, offense.
covering a lot of ground. Yeah. That's funny.
Okay, so Lauri's talking to us from Berea, Kentucky, and so Lauri, what is? Let's talk about now, then go back just a little bit. But now, what is your job for Podcast Nation? All 5 of them. Let them know, like, where and what does Lauri Eiselt do in education?
Well, right now I teach kindergarten. I've done a couple of different things, but yeah, I taught 1st grade for about 20 years, and 2nd grade for a little while, and then kindergarten and preschool. So all the little people.
All the little people, and
yeah.
you're at Berea.
Community.
Is it Berea Community School?
That's right. Yep.
Berea Community
Yep.
School System, and
Yep.
it's a K through 12 system, and it's under one roof.
Yeah, pre-K through
Or
12.
pre-K.
Yep.
It's
The
under one
preschool's
roof.
right behind me. Yep.
So you have one cafeteria,
That's correct.
and all the kids get funneled through there.
That's
And I
correct.
imagine the 5-year-olds are not eating with the 18-year-olds.
They're not. My lunch is the first lunch.
What
10
time's that? Like 9 a.m.?
10:30.
10:30.
Oh my gosh!
Wait, what time does school start?
7:30. 7:40.
Oh
Yeah. Kids
my gosh.
Yeah.
7:30 a.m. Okay, so when do kids walk in the door?
They can come as early as 7, and then they start feeding them breakfast, and then the buses come at about 7:10, and teachers technically have to be here. I mean, there are other support staff who are here at 7, but teachers are here by 7:15 at the, that's our time. Most
your
everybody's here
contract
long
time,
before
sure.
that, and then kids can enter the classrooms at 7:20, and then it technically starts at 7:40.
Okay.
Yeah, but I have all of mine. All of mine are in here by 7:30.
Wow.
Yeah. We hold them
Well,
up.
they don't
in the,
wanna-
hold them up in the lunchroom, and then I have an assistant, so she hangs on to them. She comes in at 7 and
But
is with them.
they don't want to be late to miss Lauri's class.
That's right. Do not be late. You miss all the good stuff.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so how long have you been at that particular school at Berea?
This is my
Teaching kinder.
Yeah. 18th consecutive year here. I was here back in 99. And then
Circa 99. Okay.
and I taught 1st grade most of the time here. This is my 4th year or 5th year in kindergarten, and I came teaching 1st grade, and then the other school I was at, I was teaching 1st grade also. So 20. This is 30. I don't know. Year 31, I guess. Yeah, it's a long time.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thanks, man. You're about the same.
Okay, so I know, but you're the guest.
You're
You're the guest.
braggadocious.
You're the guest. But originally you're from Minnesota, right?
That's right. Go Gophers.
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 Go first.
Yeah.
Go first. Okay. And then you moved down to Kentucky after college.
That's right. 22 years old. Yeah.
And what brought you down to Kentucky?
Well, I wanted to do some volunteer work, and so I signed up with CAP, the Christian Appalachian Project, and I wanted to teach, and so I got to teach preschool down in McCreary County, which I think most of the locals pronounce it McQuarrie County,
Okay.
which I think at one time, and maybe it is again, was the poorest county in the nation.
Really?
Yeah.
Now that's like Somerset, right? Somerset, Kentucky.
Somerset is
No, that's
Pulaski. It's
Pulaski.
south of that. Yep.
Oh
south.
my!
Wow.
Right, really
you
close
were
to
there.
Tennessee. It's really close to the. I think it. No, it doesn't touch the Tennessee border, but it's very close.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you taught there.
Yep.
Child development, like early
That's right.
early childhood intervention.
Yep. 3s, 4s, and 5s, and they were hilarious. Yeah. Yeah, they were pretty fun. And then
Was
you're
that-
involved with the families too. It was really a whole.
Was that the one that was called Eagle Child Development?
Yep. Eagle Child
Okay,
Development.
okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So out it was very rural.
Very in the middle of the Daniel Boone National Forest. Yeah, and there was an elementary school right next to it. That was Eagle Elementary, and then Cap built their little preschool, 50 yards away from it, and it was a neat little community.
Oh. So that's where you kind of cut your teeth with early childhood education.
That's right. That's right. And I had a
Okay, so-
tremendous mentor, so that helped. Jean Barnes was her name, and
Jean Barnes.
Yep, she was something. I learned more from her, I think, than I probably learned in 4 years of college. She was really, really.
Well, let's go to Jean Barnes' life for just a second.
Yeah.
So what was it? I knew Jean not as well, obviously, but what was it that like sticks with you to this day? Like when you think of Jean and like, I wish Jean was in my classroom and I could wish Jean could see this. Like, what kind of things do you take with you from her?
I had never, classroom management, I think, is probably one of the hardest things for teachers, no matter how long you've been in it. I think you just get different kids and different challenges, and you got to figure out how to work your group, and helping kids be accountable. But I had never learned that when I was in college. I didn't have a class on classroom management, and do you hear that? I'm hearing like a. Is that you or me?
I think it's you.
There's a real crunchy.
Do you have
crunchy sound.
Do you have like a gerbil in your classroom?
No, there's nothing. I'm sorry, nothing here. But
Okay.
she, when kids were making choices that were not so good, that word choice was never taught to me. Like even when they're 3 and 4 years old, they can be accountable for their actions. Be those positive actions or ones they need to really think about. And I think that. I mean, from 22 to 50, whatever old I am, and that really has been an important part of what I do. That just staying calm and asking kids, can you make a better choice instead of, knock that off or whatever. You know what I mean? Like just taking that accountability was a big, big thing. And just that she was gentle and kind and firm, that kids knew that this was their choice and this was their consequence, or they had to be accountable. And I was like, oh man, that's really amazing. So.
And probably really sprinkled in with a good dose of love.
Oh yeah.
And like honest care for the kids, right?
Right. And she was probably one of the best people persons I've ever, could work with the families and the kids, and everybody just loved her. So she's a good one for sure.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yep.
So then from there, when you went away from the Christian Appalachian Project, then you did some different stints in the more rural areas, right?
Yep.
And can you speak about your early experience? I just remember because I think I had visited you.
Yes.
I visited you because I was living in the area. I think I visited you with my saxophone, and we did some.
Oh my gosh, that is right. I forgot about
right.
that. Yeah.
But you taught at a very small country Christian school.
Yeah.
Was in the mountains.
That's right. Since I decided I was going to stay in Kentucky, I was looking for a public school teaching job, but what was I, 24 or something? And it was, I called it political back then, but I don't know what I would call it now, but it was, they don't know you. I'm some Yankee that's I mean, they're not going to hire me. But I had worked, it was in Jackson County where the Christian Appalachian Project ran a summer camp. So I had a few summers there. So a few people in that area knew who I was. And this little tiny Anvil Christian Academy was looking for a kindergarten / first grade teacher. And the school, I kid you not, Steve was there, Jack, I am not kidding, was an old doctor's office. So I just picture now like an examining room or where you go in and you sit down, there's the, the stool and the desk and the little thing So I was in the biggest room with 15 kids, 10 kindergartners and 5 first graders. And the room was probably 8 by 16. I mean,
So this is like where you get your checkup in your doctor's office.
that's
That's
right.
where you're teaching?
Yes. And
So you had popsicle sticks, cotton balls. What else can you need? Oh my gosh.
Exactly. It was
Okay, kids.
Wait, you had 15 kids in a room like that?
Yeah.
You'll have to sit on like the little bed,
I
like
got
have the
some-
kids
Oh
go
my
there.
Gosh.
They did
That's
clear
like,
all that
okay.
out, thank goodness.
Crisscross applesauce.
Yeah.
So you
Oh my gosh.
that was your first year. That was your first gig as Miss
That's right.
Lauri.
That's right. Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
talk about problems versus opportunities. Man, that is a job full of opportunities. Good Lord.
It was a neat little place to be. I think my salary was $9,000 that first year. Yeah. So I would teach piano lessons on the side to pay for my gas because it was a 45-minute drive to work.
Okay, I know inflation got bad, but
Yeah.
like 9,000
Yeah.
doesn't seem.
I kind of remember that. I
Yeah.
kind of remember that discussion. Like, how's Lauri making it?
Yeah.
Maybe we took up a GoFundMe page for you or something. Yeah.
Well, the internet wasn't invented yet, Steve, so there was no such thing.
Right.
Okay, so you taught there. Steve talks about something he calls resistance training, and he talks about this with the kids or with the staff, and just like if you have opportunities or challenges that you need to overcome, when you actually get past these certain things, doing your job gets a lot easier. I'm just curious, like what was the resistance training, with 15 kids in a super small room versus like now when you have an actual classroom and you have your own desk and technology that you can use. So like what was that like trying to teach in a small room with probably very minimal resources?
Right. Well, I guess number one, you have to get creative, and it was good that it was my first job because I wasn't coming from like a giant classroom to this teeny tiny little place.
Sure.
I just was really grateful to have my own room and to have my own classroom and to do my own thing. And they pretty much said, whatever you want to teach, you can teach. So that was fun. And we did a lot of things outside, a lot of things that hold a lot of clipboards and, had a, big space on the rug. So it was, I guess, sort of non-traditional. I mean, there wasn't a desk. There weren't room for desks, or I think I had one little table in there that we could use. And I'd set up, I don't even know how I did it, but I'd set up little centers for them to do so I could work with small groups, and they were, they'd move from one little place. So I know I built somehow like a shelf up against the wall. So it was a place we were sitting that was like, I don't know, 9, maybe 8 by 8 square. I don't know, where we'd have a little circle time.
Did the
Yeah.
kids know this was non-traditional, or was this like just
No.
all they knew?
No, because these were kindergartners, so for
Oh, so
most
this is
of
their
them, it was
first
their
school
first
experience.
Right.
Well, that's perfect then.
Yeah.
And it's all only up from there. That's awesome. So they would never have known, and you're creating an opportunity and an environment for them to be successful,
Yep.
and they would never feel constrained by
Yep.
their reality.
Yep.
What do you remember about those early years? 15 kids in a doctor's office room. What do you
Sounds like a
remember?
movie.
What do you remember about like class management? I mean, was that a pretty attentive group since it was like a private school, or was it what was that like? Like how did you manage like having 15 kids in a place that small because they were probably always touching elbows.
Yeah. Yep.
That's why you went outside a lot.
That's right. That's right. I didn't lose them. I mean, there was nowhere to hide, so I could keep them all together. I mean, I have a bazillion funny stories about those first years. I had some really, really funny kids. So those are the memories that come to me most. Like, I don't remember having to, there weren't kids that threw chairs or, they were just really funny. And, yeah. I can share those with you, or we can keep going. But there's a couple really.
I remember one of the boys' names. I don't know if we're allowed to say. It's like so long ago, and the kid's probably in his 40s. But dial one of those up. We got time.
Yeah. Well, there was a little fella in there. I guess I probably shouldn't say. He had the best name though, so I have to think of we'll just call him Billy Joe. Okay, we'll call him Billy Joe. And he'd never been around other kids before. This is sort of his first experience really in school. And he had like a medical condition, like he wasn't a hemophiliac, but his blood didn't clot like very well, so his folks were real protective of him. And his mom would often check in with me, and she would say, "Now they called me Miss Lauri. I didn't use my last name because I didn't have to." And she'd say, "Miss Lauri, now I'm telling you, Billy Joe, he had him a nosebleed last night, and he doesn't have enough oxygen in his brain today. So if he has trouble concentrating, it's because he doesn't have enough oxygen in his brain." I said, "All right, well I'll keep watching him." She dropped him off, and he came into class and he said, "Now, Miss Lauri," this is Billy Joe. He said, "Now, if I have trouble concentrating today, it's because I don't have enough oxygen in my brain." I said, "Well, all right, we'll make sure we keep a good eye on you." I don't know that I do either. It's pretty much. But yeah, he was a delight. Yeah, and said his other one was that I tell often. Was the very beginning of school, and so you talk about the days of the week and the months of the year and the weather and all of that stuff, and of course we start school in August, and so the season is going to change to fall, and so we were talking about the seasons, and I said, "Well, does anybody know what season is? We're going to start a new season tomorrow. Does anybody know what's going to start?" And he said, "Well, yeah, Miss Lauri, it's squirrel season." I said, "Oh, you're yep." So.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Those are gems.
Those are gems.
Yeah.
Those are gems.
Yeah.
So that's like, that's good stuff.
That's
I
good
can
stuff,
remember. Yeah, I remember some of those, and meeting some of those kids, and that's funny. I mean, that comes up to mind as soon as you said that. Like, I remember hearing those stories before.
Did you check that kid's lunchbox the next day?
Yeah, it's got some stew in there.
Yeah.
Stew. Okay, so you've been at Berea Community Schools for a long while.
Mm-hmm.
It's a consolidated school, community school system, so it's like K-12. It's like one superintendent, one leadership, pre-K through 12, sharing the facilities. And now, how many are in your kindergarten classroom? What's that look like?
I have 20. Yep.
20.
Yep.
And you have a teaching aide, a para with you.
Yes. That is. I don't know how people do it without. It's. I think every classroom should have a para in there, or one other person. I mean, I don't care how old they are.
Jack has me. I'm Jack's para.
Yeah, I mean it really is. You gotta have two.
Well, it's always nice to have another human in the room, just for your own sanity too.
Right.
It is different when you don't have that person. But that's a win. So I know we've talked to other grade school teachers, but we have not talked to a kindergarten teacher before. But what is there was like a pie chart of like content teaching versus like corralling, for lack of a better word? What does that pie chart look like?
Good. That's a really good question. The first 4 to 6 weeks of school, it's very much, what do they say, herding cats, like
Yeah.
just trying to, to get them to understand like a routine. And
Sure.
And really, once you have a routine in place, and my kids, the schedule is super important to them, and it's in the same place every day, and pretty much it's the same thing. It stays pretty much the same, but they get to go to music one day or art one day, or sometimes there's some special things, but that is where they go first, just to make sure if to see if anything has shifted. That schedule is really important, and and just routines and your expectations for where you are, the hallway or the lunchroom, or but most of that, like I said, that first 4 to 6 weeks is a lot of all right, this is what it looks like when we're on the carpet, and I wish that you all could lie down and roll around and put your buns in the air, but you really can't. You just, there's.
We have not yet said.
Is that high school band?
I was just going to say we have not said that to our kids yet, but we might have come close.
Yeah. I do.
So it's Sorry, go ahead.
No. You go ahead with your question.
Well, I was just thinking like it's February now, so I'm. That sounds like routines are locked into place, and the kids kind of come in and expect to know what's going on. So, wow. Okay, so the first few months of the year, your caffeine levels are probably pretty high to make that all happen.
Yeah.
My gosh. I'm just trying to put myself in your shoes, and I feel like at the end of a day of like just a normal day of teaching, I feel pretty spent, like just my energy output. I cannot imagine what you would go through on a day-to-day with 4 to 5 year olds. Like what does that look like? Like, are you, I don't even know. What does that look like?
Like, what does a schedule, a day look like, or what does
just
what do I look like at the end of the day?
Well, your energy.
Lauri, you got all dolled up for this class.
You're
like,
looking at
show
it.
us.
Yeah.
Mess up.
I just cannot imagine the energy output to like get kids to give you 100% and get the kids at those age. So like what does just like a day in your life look like with that? How does that happen?
Well, I will tell you that these 5-year-olds, now some of them have turned 6, which of course is a big deal. There's a lot more focus and concentration between 7:30 and 12 o'clock. The afternoons are really hard for them. This is, I think probably everybody in the nation has now shifted to full day kindergarten. When they first did that, and even at this school, they were required to take a 30-minute rest time, and a lot of kids, my girls both had a rest time in kindergarten and would fall asleep for some of that time, that they'd read a story or play soft music and turn the lights down, and then kids got back up and then did the afternoon. We don't do that anymore, but they are, the way that our schedule is, I don't like it, because we have math at the very end of the day, and by what time does that start? 12, like 12:45. They're flopping all over the place,
And you teach the math?
Yeah, I teach everything except music and art. I do. I mean, I still do a lot of those things. We do a lot of. I throw a lot of art, and we sing, and a lot of movement. We take a lot of movement breaks. They don't sit for very long. They're moving from place to place, and that. You can put like Go Noodle or those Just Dance, and they can stretch a little bit, and you can rearrange the furniture and get the next thing ready, and then you can get them back. But Jack, I guess to go back to your original question, I think it's like getting in shape. That's the way, like at the beginning of the year, those first, 3 weeks probably, I'm exhausted. because I mean, it's like training for something that I've sort of had my summer, and you get back into this, like it's nonstop. My lunch really is by the time I get them through the line, and I go to the bathroom and I really have about 12 minutes, and then I have to go back and get them. So it's just fast, and which is better for me. I like that pace. If I sit down too long, don't be surprised if I nod off here, because this is longer than I should sit after school.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I really do think that's part of what it is just kind of getting in shape for it. And
Wow. No, that makes sense. Perfect sense.
yeah.
You've probably, though, for our podcast audience out there, that they can tell as a veteran teacher, the spirit that you have in your voice and the smile that you carry on your face when you have a conversation talking about your kids, is that, going back to your days of Gene Barnes and holding high expectations for students and telling them to make wise choices, but like you have a unquenchable thirst to like love the students.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is like your guiding principle that helps you decipher and navigate through these things. And and I'm sure that, that when the students come in and have you for a day, then a week and a month and a year, and then you get to see them as first graders, second graders, and then there's some kind of like bond.
Yep.
Because you get to see them all the way through your school. Right. What a special thing,
yeah,
right?
That is cool.
And then obviously with families, then you have siblings and you have cousins or whatever, and that's pretty special to have that.
Yep.
So how does that? Can you maybe talk about? You could use some anecdotes, or you could just like in the process of loving the children and just like being in there with them all the time, and the behaviors or the skills that the students have that can be distracting. And when you have 20 students and you have 2 or 1, that's just like, you have one eye on them, but you're trying to keep the class going and not just be the lowest common denominator, and like have, right? Like how does that look? I mean, feel free to use a story, or like, how do you juggle that? Because I'm sure, you see all the behaviors, but then you don't get sucked down that negativity role, right? That you keep the positivity going. How's that look?
Right. And that's a, I guess sort of a trick you have to learn, or you have to kind of tell yourself, like, what if kids are doing things that are maybe not exactly what you need them to do or expect them to do, making a choice that's not so good for this situation, to give yourself a couple seconds to say, okay, what do they need? What are they asking for? And then try to meet that as quickly as you can without taking away from the rest of the class. There were many mornings this year. I have a couple little fellas, super sweet, kind, but they're just really active, and so figuring out, instead of saying or sit down, or giving them a negative consequence for they can't do it. I mean, they're just not ready for it. So I know one little fellow, he's an auditory learner, so if I sit him at his table while we're doing our, we call it morning meeting, like going over the schedule and the day and, whatever, sing our little songs. If he'll even just trace letters or color on a coloring page, and he can repeat every single thing I've just said. Or even if I'm starting to teach a phonics lesson or something, then he's content and calm, and then I can do everybody else. You know what I mean? Like looking for then he doesn't have to feel badly about his baby. He's 5. He's 5 years old. He's not throwing chairs, and he's not calling anybody names.
Right.
He just, he just is a lot of.
Right. Yeah.
And I have another little guy who, if I can even just keep teaching. If he sits right next to me, I just do like deep pressure on him, squeeze his arms, and he just like like almost drools. Like I'm not kidding. It's the cool. I used to do it to my oldest daughter, who had some she was real tense and she had some trouble like staying focused and even going to sleep. And I do this like deep pressure, and it was magic walking down the hall. If I've got one that's like smashing up against the walls and taking down the bulletin boards, truly, I just have this person, little guy person, come stand with me, and I take his hair and I like just pull up on it just a little bit, like just to get, and he's like while we're walking, I'm not kidding, like just giving a little bit of pressure, and it sort of
Sure.
Yeah, so I've got one hand squeezing his arm and the other hand on his head, but he's successful going down the hall. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not me.
Yeah. Wow.
Just like picking at, and then to say, okay, what do you need? And just to, keep that calm.
What do you need?
Yeah. And yeah, and you got to know, you guys know it too, that this making that connection with them. You got to know everybody's siblings, everybody's dog, who lives with grandma. That is, I think, far more important than anything else you're going to do. That you can say, I know your grandma was going to have surgery, or you told me you're getting a new car.
Right.
You got to remember that stuff. I don't have a super memory for a lot of other things, but for these kids, I do. Try to pull all that stuff back. Yeah. It's fun.
You better be careful with that, like the massagey trick stuff, because you'll be ending up leading some PD on that, on how to calm kids down with the pulling weird pressure. I mean, that's perfect.
Yeah.
I need someone to do that to me during my school day.
Yeah.
Wow.
And, fidgets or whatever. I know there's, like balls to squeeze, or kids are sad. I've got, a bucket full of stuffed animals, and you want to, they're not ready to participate. You want to hold something? Would you miss, little girl last week just said, I came in crying. I said, what is it? She said, I just miss my dad. And I said, well, want to make him a card? Yeah. So we got I said, do you want an envelope and a card, or do you want to make it yourself? And that was it. She spent 10 minutes, and she said, I want to write I love you on there. And I said, well, I can put it on a sticky note and let you have it, and you can copy it. Yep, that's what she did. Put it in her envelope, put it in her backpack, and that was it. She was ready to go. So, it wasn't, come on, get over it and get. I think you really have to learn to listen to them and not learn. That's not
You just
fair.
kind of caught me off guard
Just be-
when you said they're not ready to participate. I think like the cynic teacher in me is like, come on, you got to get moved. But just like the way you phrased that, and that was like a very, very intentional phrasing that I'm sure you've used before, like with your kids, are you ready to participate? Instead of like, come on, let's get going. Like that made me kind of check myself just now thinking about that.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Are you ready to participate?
Yeah, and ready to learn. We use that a lot. Not, it isn't, somebody's doing the best that I can say, look at everybody's ready to learn. And if Steve is not ready to learn yet, and Steve can't sort of get himself turned around, then, Steve, maybe just take some time to think about what you're doing, and then, come on, enjoy it. Sometimes I have an assistant, so that helps. She'll just take kid for a walk for 5 minutes, sort of renew and get back in, and then it's not that negative. I'm not a bad person. I'm not a bad student. My teacher, I'm not liked or loved. That they're going to try to, do the best for me. So, yeah.
So one thing that we've talked about here, we've talked about this with newer teachers, and obviously you're a veteran teacher, and you teach primary grades, and we teach high school, but one thing that we've talked about has been like in the classroom, like the most successful teachers, I think across the board and across the years, and maybe some of your favorite teachers that you've had as a student are the teachers that are the most authentic. And the teachers, so, you maybe had that tough science teacher in high school, or a really straight-laced theology teacher in college, but they were like really authentic to themselves. So you could you could really identify, you could just really like bond with them because they were being like, that's who they are, you know? And I think, you know, sometimes since we're working with adolescents, teenagers, that's something we have to check with ourselves like pretty frequently because Jack has, you know, mentioned the kids can sniff that out pretty quickly, and you've raised 2 girls, you're raising girls, and that they know they can sniff that out if you're trying to be, you know, tough, or if you're just trying to be the silly, funny guy, you're trying to be carefree, or you're trying to be hip, you know, like they can sniff that out. So my question is, for you, after teaching many years and then working with 5th and 6th graders, is that something that still comes up? Like, imagine like Miss Eiselt's voice is firmly established for the most part, but is that still something that you have to be aware of? Or at this point in your career, being authentic to you, is that happening?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, you grow as a teacher, but I don't know that I've, maybe, I hope I'm answering this the right way, but, yeah, I think that part is the same, that I'm not faking, you know, loving kids. I'm not going to fake if I'm, you know, you can give them the teacher eye. That's not, but that they're always, you know, they're always going to, it's never going to change. Like I'm never not going to love you, or I'm never not going to believe that you're capable of, you know, doing something different. And, I think that's where sometimes we get lost, is that it's pushing curriculum or assessments, or, you know, that's not what they remember, and that's not what, you know, that sounds so cliche, but it truly is not. It's, you know, I used to, well, I still do, Shel Silverstein poems. I would read every day. We would pick a couple poems, and that was just the thing I loved to do. And I had a colleague of mine who I taught her daughter, who's now 20 years old, and she said her daughter said, oh, so, you know, that a Shel Silverstein poem came, and she said those were the best. That was the best. That's the link to me. Not that, you know, that I taught her the alphabet, right? You know, how to write it, how to hold her pencil, but it was that those were just great memories. That they're silly. That's just, I mean, Shel Silverstein, it's crazy. It's silly, and we'd make up actions for it and change our voices, and, you know, those are the things that they hang on to. Puppets or whatever, that, you know, I've had the same puppets for 30 years that they still come back out, and, you know, kids will stop me in the hall that are sophomores and say, you still got Sally? You know, yeah, I actually do. She's from 1994, you know, she's been around a long time. So yeah, that kind of, that stuff is still the same. And, you know, you got to grow and but yeah, I guess that's part of being authentic. And we laugh a lot, we smile a lot. I'd like to talk about, you know, things that are silly, and
Sure.
And then you got to rein them back in. You know, you can't go too far.
Well, yeah, I know that you have a wonderful like sense of humor, and you're great improvising and kind of riffing and kind of keep things going on, and like a lot of hearty laughs over the years. And I think Jack and I have talked about this. Like said, I think I could teach like K1 or 2 like for about 30 minutes, and then I'd be tapped out. I'd be like, I'm out, because I would probably get them all jacked up, and then they would just be running around the room on fire, and then be like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, I think that, you know, like the well-seasoned teachers, to be able to ride those waves of excitement and then like figure out how to kind of bring them down safely, and then bring them back up when they're feeling kind of sleepy. Like, that's magic stuff.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's
that is wonderful.
Yeah, and they do it. Like, some of it seems so corny. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to try this, and they're never going to do it. But like, even just, all right, everybody take a deep breath in, like you're smelling chocolate cake. and blow it out like you're blowing out your birthday candles. And they're like, okay. And they do it. And then it's, close your eyes or squeeze your body. And again, it's my fault that I got him jacked up. Now it's my fault. I gotta bring him back down. I can't be frustrated with them because I did it. It's like giving kids a bunch of balloons and it's you gotta think. But I wasn't always able to do that, and I think I've grown into that a little bit. Sit down. So no. Even going into the lunchroom today, we had to do that because they were all like, one kid's like trying to run into the lunch line. I'm like, all right, everybody do this before we walk in. These poor people serving us lunch. We don't want to, throw our chicken nuggets all over the place. But
Can't have that.
yeah,
So, when you listen to people talk about education, or maybe you don't listen to people talking about education, or just okay, I know that we can feed our minds with different ideas and different voices and temperatures of education, and what do you wish that people knew about teaching in a public school?
Oh, that's a good question.
What do you wish?
off the record.
No,
No, I'm kidding.
no, I know. And we've always, we talked about this, but like how obviously we represent our school in our district, and we want to talk about challenges, and we're professional, but what is it that that you'd wish maybe the general public knew about teaching grade school?
That the general public knew.
Or maybe they'd be surprised at,
Yeah.
or
Yeah. I think, the experience that I have had, and a lot of that is from parents that often say, I don't know how you do it, I could never do that, and I can't keep so and so, they're crazy at home, and what are they like at school, and so I think there is some level of respect, or that the profession holds a pretty sacred space for them, or a sacred
Yes.
place, that they appreciate that somebody's going to teach their kid. It's not a bad deal. We're going to be with your kids all day. We're going to give them something to do. We're going to feed them twice, sometimes 3 times. We can get them there. We can get them home again. So there's a lot about public school that I think that we forget about, that we are, and in a town like this, we're kind of the hub of, or can be, of what happens. That the schools are the places that, schools aren't just schools. They have, family resource centers and, outreach places. The schools are used for, Lord have mercy, all kinds of things, not just athletics or music, but, they've got clubs and parent meetings, and, there's all kinds of things that are happening. But let me go back to your original question. That I wish people knew. I guess I wish that, I don't know if it's wish people knew or I wish people would do, is just sort of chill out, just settle down. And that goes from administration on down. These are little people. And I think that we push them way too hard, especially at this level. I think the curriculum that I have feels almost like late first grade or almost second grade.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot. And you can read, there are lots of studies that show, kids don't really have to do much but play until they're 7. You know, it's and to take that out of, I think, especially K1 and even in the 2nd grade, just give them the Legos or give them some paint and turn on the music, or I mean, let them play in the kitchen and pretend to make pancakes. Or I think people underestimate. Yeah, maybe that's what I wish people knew. How much learning can come from play. You know, I can play Connect 4 or Memory with 3 kids, and I mean, how many lessons can be learned in that? You know, they can. Yeah, there's just so many things that can happen that it doesn't have to be like drilling paper and pencil.
Yes.
And kids need so much that social emotional stuff. I know that's sort of nationwide, that social emotional learning. Just how to get along with each other. How to roll a dice, for crying out loud, and count, like, move around a game board. I'm not kidding. Right. I mean, I still do it. That's every day they get a chance to do those things. Because I know that it's important. They get to play in the kitchen. They get to build with blocks. I brought all my old toys in from when my girls were little. Like Playmobil. Some of these kids have never seen Playmobil before. Or Polly Pockets. Or Tinker Toys. Or, you know, or Chutes and Ladders. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the stuff I wish they knew, you know?
Right.
So that was a long answer. Sorry, man.
No, that's good. That's good. I think that's touching hearing that from a seasoned professional who has high expectations for her students and a lot of love for their students. And obviously, you take your job of educating children very seriously, and you're realizing, you know, what's the most important.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
I so wish that we could, you know, Jack and I, maybe like in 25 years when we're syndicated, and we maybe have like a CHOPS RV, and like we could like do a mobile classroom, and we go from, I would love to see you in action,
Thanks.
you know, doing your thing, and
Same.
showing the world, you know, telling the world what else you're doing in your class, because, you know, I think that the K1 and 2 teachers, I mean, you guys are
wizards.
You guys are wizards. You're wizards, and you're heroes. I mean, that sounds contrite too, or you know, but I mean, you guys are heroes. I mean, you're like the first line of defense in our public schools, and like getting the kids to buy into a system and getting them to trust in a building with new people and trust other adults, and to, you know, help them to have an experience where they say, I'm going to come back.
Yeah.
You know, because the kids always have a choice not to come back. If they have, you know, a parent situation that doesn't endorse that, you know, maybe they choose not to come back. But to people like yourself, creating an environment where kids want to come back and they want to be a part of it, and they happen to be learning, but that's not even like the first thing that's the most important. They learn as a byproduct of doing all these other soft skills that you are encouraging and or demanding in your classroom. So, props to you, Lauri Eiselt.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Big props.
So that's very good. That's inspiring, and you know, we have our own challenges teaching teenagers, but we also know that we work with a student population that's a lot more autonomous, you know, and they can get from point A to point B most of the time.
They can tie their
You
own
know,
shoes.
not a, yeah, right. We don't need to tie their shoes. And, you know, so, but, you know, obviously we have our own challenges in our grade level that we work on, but, you know, it's always positive to talk to people like yourself that work with the youngest of the young in the public schools. And so we give you a CHOPS podcast shout out.
Thanks. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks for the chops, man.
You betcha. So we're going to get to wrap it up here.
Yeah.
We are. Lauri, you got anything you want to plug?
You got any social media, Lauri?
No. I don't even know what hashtag means, so I can't even say that.
If you have a real small pencil, you could play tic-tac-toe on it. It's
There you
fire.
go. There you go.
Nice. Nice. Okay.
I think it's awesome what you guys are doing. It's really fun to.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you.
I walk to school sometimes, and I put you in my ears when I'm
Hey!
walking. Yeah, it's fun.
Perfect.
Yeah. Well, Jack is all over the editing. He is like on that stuff, putting the reels and little clips up, and then
So great.
And Steve's the director of communications.
I'm the director of communications, so that's why I contacted you.
Thank you. Woo.
Yep.
Okay, so
All right. Well, so if you like Lauri are enjoying what's going on, make sure you hit that follow button on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or YouTube, wherever you're getting your podcasts. Make sure you find us on TikTok at chops_podcast and on Instagram at chops_podcast.
this is true.
That's true. All right. Well, that's it. And for Jack Hinkle.
And
Lauri Eiselt.
Steve Peterson.
Aw.
We're out of here.
Bye bye.
Yeah.
Bye.